Hello and welcome to the NXT review on Wrestling Headlines YouTube and on Wrestling Headlines podcast and just the website as well. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and I'm joined this week once again by One Nation Radio's social suplexers, James Boyd. Welcome back again, James.
What's happening, man? Happy to be here.
Today is a special day for a certain someone which I'm wording this so weirdly. Congratulations to Latta. For Rich Latta. I was like, let's do a whole elaborate build and make it try and make it sound special, but no, effed it. Let's just stop that. Yeah.
It happens. I'm sure he'll appreciate the love anyway.
Well, I was jokingly going to make this a Latta special and saying to James, like, how to make this special? I know. I'll mention it at the start and then we'll just never mention it again. That'll do. Make it feel special. It was the first thing mentioned. So, yeah. Anyway, congratulations to Latta. Buy his album. Buy Swerve's album as well. That's his work too. Anyway, NXT. Swerve, that's a jump into NXT. So there's two main topics to talk about this week. And we're going to try and keep on topic. Again, word orders just abandoned me right now. So we're going to talk about the two main things from the show this week. I'm assuming if you've watched any of the shows that have already happened, or like the immediate reviews or the ones earlier here in the UK, then you'll be fully aware that Ember Moon has returned. Huzzah, that's one I've gone for. I've gone for the positive. She has returned and immediately gone into the main event of NXT in a tag match, and she's got a new theme, a new entrance, a new gear, everything, new lighting. She's green now instead of Ember Light. So, yeah, do with that what you will. It felt like a bit more of her nerdiness was allowed to come out in this version of her character, and normally I like that, being able to see it. The second topic is the injuries, obviously, which have completely plagued NXT specifically recently. Finn Balor, you've got Karrion Kross, Finn Balor, Tegan Knox, and on tonight's show was Ridge Holland with quite a nasty one. So we'll get to those second, but we'll start positive. Ember Moon. So first off, what did you make of Ember Moon's return at TakeOver?
I thought that putting Ember Moon and Toni Storm's return stuff right next to each other as a back-to-back thing kind of stepped on each of their individual returns. But moving aside from that, I thought Ember, her promo, I've heard a lot of mixed messages about whether people like it or not. For me, I felt like it was her, which is better than the stuff we've seen her do on the main roster, where she, the main roster is really weird. But back to Ember, I thought that she felt there were times where she was looking for her words, but she never felt like she got nervous. But I buy the story of she went on a bike, went riding. Obviously, that's not real, but as far as her character, her kayfabe character, she went riding after the injury setback, found clarity, came back, and she's back where all events, all the Hunter's kids, they always want to come back right after they've been on the main roster for a while, but she was back, and they immediately put her into the main event, and as far as the main event, I thought that Ember Moon was back being pretty much, where she left off from NXT. And I was really happy because, there was, she had talked about her, having some real insecurities about thinking her career was over. I think that was the Booker T, interview she did. So I'm really happy for her. Very happy for her.
Yeah. And it's like with NXT's character rehauls, I feel like they feel actually good. It makes her return feel a bit more special with the destination destruction, and it just goes into the theme. I thought, right, so okay, it's a bit corny, but I'll go with it. It's fine. It's not the most corny thing in wrestling. It's wrestling. We can put up with corny. It's fine. We're wrestling fans. But the whole new theme, which seemed to play a bit off the same notes of the last theme, same notes, just not particularly in the same order. Gear, face paint, and all is completely new, and I liked it. Generally, and the motorbike, like, hell of a year to go on the freeway of solitude. Just driving down on your motorbike.
Yeah.
Having
He's like, oh, you going in isolation? So have most of us.
Oh, because Tony Storm in her one was saying, in her actual promo, was talking about isolation. It's just, yeah. I'm not sure you meant it. Like, you don't know what isolation's been like. Yeah, we do. Have you not seen?
Good point. I didn't think about that, but yeah, definitely. It's like, yes, you were, allegedly in Cancun isolating, but I kind of have a feeling like that's a little bit different than the isolation a lot of us are doing in some of these metropolitan areas.
Plus, she's doing that promo at the same time I'm watching the New Japan G1 Climax, and her promo about going to Cancun for isolation, and I watched Juice's promo. It's like, this penis is just for one person. You cannot touch it, evil. Did you see it? He hit my penis. It's just amazing promo from Juice after he got a low blowed by evil. It's
Juice is out of his mind.
His promos are great. It's just like, shame he doesn't really win that often, but his promos. I just found that interesting, seeing just the slight juxtaposition between the two promos from the two different accounts.
Like, obviously, we know, like, us being wrestling nerds, we know more than we should, so we know about their relationship. But like, it is funny seeing that, like, both of them have what they had to say that are just like, nah, that's incongruent. That's not, somebody's lying here, kayfabe wise. If you want to, do the cross canonization of all the professional wrestling organizations. But I definitely get what you mean.
And like, compared to the main roster with Ember Moon thing, where all of this like new presentation, it lets us know we're in for something different than her last run. Just everything about it. Compared to the main roster, where more often than not it's because you're getting homogenized. Like, even Bayley, like, for example, over time I've come to really enjoy this current Bayley character. First time I heard that theme, I was like, well, that's generic guitar crap. It's just like her theme is technically, like, it's indistinguishable from so many other themes. It's not really that special, but she made it special because she's a great wrestler. She's done fantastic with that act. So, it is what it is. And like this, the main event was set up by Dakota Kai attacking Rhea Ripley. I thought that was an awesome thing as well, with Io Shirai coming out, and immediately you're like, bloody hell, this roster is stacked. Just seeing Io Shirai comes out to meet Ember Moon, it's like, oh, it's like 2 generations of NXT. I love it, because Kairi Sane was the person in between the two, and like Ember had gone by the time Io properly arrived, so it's like, oh, generations, I love it. Then Rhea Ripley comes out, like, oh yes, when she gets jumped by Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. This roster is stacked, and I love it when they do things like this and you really feel it. And the main event was the nice little thing of big lass, little lass on both sides. So you got the Big Mama Cool Gonzalez, and you've got Rhea Ripley, and those two are getting powerful and angry at each other, whilst you got Dakota Kai acting sly. Did not mean for that to rhyme. Hit me up, Rich. and with Ember Moon, it's kind of just getting her back in, familiarised, and just go, didn't you used to like these things, didn't you? And the commentator was like, oh, I've missed that move. And it's very difficult to not also be like, oh, the Eclipse is awesome. It's kind of building up to that. But yeah, what did you make of, because you hinted on the promo, but the kind of overall, I guess, presentation of Ember Moon on this return night?
Yeah, she still has a burst, and she still has a striking, and there's also, I don't remember her being as sudden before, but, I love wrestlers that can just all of a sudden 0 to 100. So, I think that's the reason why I love Shingo so much. It's just like all of a sudden, like, it just like takes one step, then all of a sudden it just lights out. But yeah, she was really, really good, and I wasn't expecting her to still be that good after being out with that kind of injury, but she did all of her stuff that she's always done that I've ever seen her do, so I was really happy. And I thought that her and Dakota, actually all 4 of them, and were really, really good together. And I feel like if you are a person that's really into Raquel, like they seem to be, in the way they protected her, with Dakota being basically like the pin eater when they're together, I feel like if you want her to improve, you have to put her in the ring with 3 people as good as them. And I thought, it was a success. Everything, I thought it was a really good match. The rest of the show, we'll get into it, except for like the wrestling, aside from like the opener. But like I thought that this was a really good match.
Yeah, and especially as what come before it on the show was just a little bit, I guess, flat with a lot of recapping, a lot of promo packages, VTRs and things. So getting like a solid match like this at the end with 4 fantastic wrestlers, it was like a nice way to end the show. Especially as I'm watching this, I know what happened on the other show, and it was apparently white hot, a fantastic show on the other side. I was like, well, this is the one I'm reviewing. Sir Sam gets to do AW, and obviously they're doing NXT. But
what I will say is I'm happy that we got this show, because some of the plot lines, things they threw out, will lead you to believe that they're heading back towards long form storytelling, slow burn stuff, as opposed to all the hot shotting we got through this whole pandemic era to about now. Where, it's like, oh, we have to go do something to basically, cut off, Fight for the Fallen and what's the other one? I can't. Fighter Fest. So I'm really glad that they're now going into like stuff like the Who Done It with Adam, like who's paying for Rich Hollins being a hitman, who is what is going on with Indy Hartwell and the Garganos. Like I'm interested to see what happens from here with some of these storylines. Like I'm not, Dexter Lumis coming back, but I feel like they're now going in the direction of we're going back to the things that made people love us, which, I like some of the matches we were getting with the hot shotting, but it's like this is going to end badly if you don't, solve this. And it seems like they've gone back to what they've done in prior times.
Because you can't really do that style of booking on a show where the talent gets raided so frequently. Because if you're not slowly building anyone over time and suddenly, plop, half your talent's gone, you can't really keep building it like that. So totally with you that it's been nice to see a show like this. I have got Halloween Havoc and the Shotzi jump scare. I have got that in the corner of my eye. It's just like, that's only at the end of this month. That's really not that long away. And then we've got War Games. So there isn't really that much. Really.
Are we getting War Games?
I mean, it's Survivor Series round the corner, isn't it? So normally you get War Games around Survivor Series time. Have I counted that right? Yeah, I think that's right.
I think they moved it. I think they moved that, or last I looked, they moved that off of Summer or Survivor Series weekend.
Oh, okay.
Like the next takeover I think is in December.
Okay, so yeah, they fully moved NXT takeovers off the same weekend as those big shows.
Seems like it. Yeah.
I mean, as a guy who gets absolutely like now, I'm feeling the fatigue because I'm also covering New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax. So I'm up at Japan/Australia time to collaborate with Sir Sam, and I'm jumping straight into NXT after that. So it's like, or like on Tuesday it was G1 Climax and Monday Night Raw. It's like, oh, that's a lot to wrestling to get through.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice to have it on separate weekends, even though that means I get late night one day to recover, late night one day to recover, late. So I would like, bit of a break. It was really, like, September was awful because when they suddenly, like, oh yeah, we can do the Payback pay-per-view. So suddenly you had the NXT pay-per-view, you had SummerSlam, Payback, all out as well. So it was like a solid month, and I forgot what it was like to have a weekend of normal sleep. It was, suddenly October hits, and it was like, oh crap, I can get a normal pattern of sleep. Oh, lovely. But yeah, the fact they can actually build to it is, like, again, Halloween Havoc being so close, it's just kind of like, oh, but can you really? But the way this show played out, this was a much lower key show, but it wasn't like Raw, where normally when you say it's a low key Raw, normally what you mean is nothing happened, nothing was really set up, the matches felt a bit throwaway. That's not what we mean here. Like, things were set up, storylines were properly continued or moved on to a next gear. Some in more comedic fashions than others, but still, it was moving on to that next gear. James pulls the eyes as, we'll get to that. So it's not a show I won't, when I call it like a C grade show, I don't mean that as, oh, it was bad. I mean that as, it was a setup show. Nothing wrong with the setup show. In the long term, these are really useful and really good. They really add
Yes.
so much down the line. It just means when
And
you're
NXT
watching it, they're not like fire.
Right, the NXT really needs, maybe not as much, because sometimes Dynamite can get like this too, where they all feels like it's just, promo video or base like interview non-match stuff, but like you need some of these when you're like NXT and all you want to do is do match, angle match. Like you need some character stuff and some story beats to take you to where you need to go, wherever that is. It seems to be where they're at the beginning of some of this stuff, which is cool. And I think a lot of the times, or especially after the WrestleMania? Oh, I'm sorry, at Portland, where like Portland was so bad. The go home show NXT and like coming back, where he's like, they basically have ramped up to just have this show, and they have nothing going into it and nothing really going out of it except for Johnny and Ciampa again. But like that can't. Well, it did carry a whole show for like for an hour of it one time. But normally people wouldn't do that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I feel like I like it when you realise NXT are doing a rebuild, and it kind of slowly you're like, over time, this is like normally it's when for example the women's division gets raided, which happens from time to time.
Yep.
And you'll see people online going, "Oh, the NXT women's division's dead. There's nothing to it. There's no stars." And then people like us just in the background going, "No, we see what they're doing. It's all right." Like in half a year, you'll be seeing its praises. I mean, also because obviously we're New Japan fans as well. The pattern of seeing that over and over, where people will be like, "Oh, they've been talent raided. They're dead." In half a year, they're talking about them being the biggest stars in the world, so it's perfectly fine. But in terms of the other issue facing NXT, one slightly more out of their hands, possibly, just the injuries, the sheer amount of them in such a short span of time. So Tegan Nox, I can't remember if it's her other leg or if it's the same one, but another, I think it was ACL injury for Tegan.
Well, if I remember correctly, this is her third ACL tear, and the first two were on different legs. So I mean, it's either one is another torn ACL on the same leg, twice for either one.
Yeah, and like being a football fan, as in soccer, it's a common injury we see there, and normally you're out for quite some time with it. And the more repeat injuries you get with it, the more that question just keeps coming up of, well, if you're injury prone, and because it becomes more and more difficult to keep fit or to keep it from happening again if it keeps happening over and over. Obviously in football you're primarily using your legs, so it's a slightly different story, but still it's obviously worrying, and you hope for the best, and you hope for the kind of best recovery for Tegan, but also Karrion Kross having his shoulder injury, and Finn Balor got confirmed that he's broken his jaw. I can't remember if they said in 2 places. So because he's Finn Balor, you can have him just on the sidelines and you can build to him. You don't have just leave him. You can even leave him off of Halloween Havoc. Do a special thing there instead of Finn Balor having to defend. But again, you got to the end of the month. He might be fine. They don't appear to be stripping him of the title, and that's probably a good thing. Especially as what James was literally just talking about in the feeling of that hot shotting the title, where he's just getting injuries and things, to strip him of the title after another injury. He's just like, we can't settle, can we? So it's just really bad luck. But the big injury was Ridge Holland, which quite a nasty one. And in terms of the hierarchy of WWE, this was a guy, like we talk about people in the background getting built up slowly over time to like eventually, like half a year's time, we're talking about this guy as one of the top acts in NXT. Now he's been built up under the surface. And then this happens when he's so clearly on that trajectory. It does suck, because whatever they had planned, it felt like it was like one of the last moves of his brawl with Lorcan. And immediately, as soon as he catches... Lorcan does a dive through the outside, and he goes to catch him, and just... The spot seems to be he catches him, then does big lad thing, because he's big lad powerful. But as soon as he catches him, the weight that's underneath his leg completely buckles, and it twists. And if any of you have seen the shot online as well, it definitely twisted, which is not a good thing. And... of course, we don't know the extent of it, but apparently he's under surgery right now. Or it was today he's had his surgery. So it's either in recovery or it's still happening. It's one of the two. So we'll know the results of that later, but didn't look good. as in like he's gonna be out for a very long time, so that's just this kind of cut short. But yeah, the injuries to NXT. I was gonna say, is there anything behind them? Just because there's the sheer amount of them, just bad luck. Is it going to affect them?
Well, I mean, some of the stuff is quite honestly the style. You know, they tend to work, and I don't necessarily mean like they're crazy, like they're not Kota Ibushi or anything like that, but or Mayu Iwatani, where they just like take neck and head bumps all the time, but in almost every big match. But it just seems that some of the risks they take, it contributes to it. And you know, right now we're in a time where the main roster people, they get injured as well, and they don't work as grueling of a style. But back then you had to travel, which made it hard for recovery. So, you know, when you have things, you know, body parts aren't recovered or bodies aren't recovered, things can tend to happen. I wonder if this is a situation where, because of some of the scheduling stuff for the PC is always at whack, whether or not people can maintain their bodies in the ways that they used to, and that could be contributing to it as well, where, like, you know, people look great, but are they in, you know, the right shape compared to where they normally are, and then, you know, bad thing X, Y, and Z happens. But, you know, there's some things that just can't be some things that just cannot be that you can't blame on just that. Like, you know, you watch O'Reilly and Balor destroy each other. Like, yeah, I imagine a jaw will get broken, right? So I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, and I'm trying to decide whether it's going to be like a proper issue for NXT that they probably need to address, and do they need to switch things about. But given their developmental, overall, again, we were literally just talking about them, they can switch to building over time mode, problem solved. And the developmentals, that's what you expect from them. And it comes across as bad luck as well. Within I think it's like 7 weeks, all of these injuries have happened, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Just to think, like, not that long ago, we were watching Keith Lee carrying Cross, and just like they were establishing this kind of next era, and it just felt so cemented, and then it's just crumbled. So, which it's not all their fault. And the other side is random call-ups for amazing stables. So it's just yes. Listen to the Raw review to hear me love that stable. It's so good. It just reminds me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Just people that it's not even like their head honchos that Shredder would have confidence in. It's just random goon for that episode. It just gets destroyed. It's just... And I gave a shout on Monday, but a massive shout out to MVP, who just called T-Bar Teabag and didn't no pause for comedic effect. Nothing. He just said it and just went on. So I
didn't know that happened. That's crazy.
It was just like middle of the promo, just said it and didn't even pause.
Wow. Like, so do you think it was actually on purpose, or do you think that's just a slip?
It sounded like it was on purpose.
Okay.
Because it's MVP. He said it with meaning, but it was just he just casually just said it. It didn't feel like an error where people got in the background going, "Oh crap!" They were just like, "Ha ha ha!" Baddie said heel thing. So it's
did anybody? Okay, so did anybody that was around him, did they break or corpse or anything when he said it, or
no?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I thought it must have been like, he must have cleared it. It must have been all good. I'm assuming Vince has no idea what it means, so it's perfectly fine. He's like, "Oh, I've heard of tea." Oh. It's just it's just a British reference. They'll like it. Like, no.
See, the thing is this, right? It worked. I feel like if you say what that means to Vince would be like, "Oh, definitely say that." Oh. It just belly laughs, knowing the things we know about Vince being so sophomoric with his humor. Like, I guarantee you, like, whoever pitched that to him was like, "I can't wait to throw this line in the meeting room to Vince and let him know what teabagging is." And he's like, "That's fantastic! God damn it, that's great, pal! Can't wait."
Because I woke up in the morning, because I have to go on Twitter to do all the New Japan stuff. And the first thing I saw was like the Retribution members talking about teabagging, and I'm just like, am I missing a context here? It's like, I had no context to that. I just saw them talking about teabagging. I was like, oh, I mean, they just use Twitter like normal people relatively. They don't really mind the language they use. Maybe it's just them joshing about. But yeah. Anyway, and one of them's called Slapjack. So I doubt anyone's had the courage to explain to Vince what that means. So it's. If I'm right though, they are all tools/weapons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where they've got that from, and not looked up any other usages for them. So that was smart. Anyway,
I keep in mind there's also the same promotion that brought up Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and put them with Paige. And then decided to call them the sorority sisters until they realized, oh, that's a porn site. We can't do that. So I imagine some things get through, and you're like, oh, we can't do that because X, Y, Z, and they're like, well, damn it, why didn't one think about that beforehand? I don't know.
I mean, when you're tearing up the script and writing it as the show is happening, like these things are going to slip through the cracks. It's going to happen. But anyway, I'm going to do a quick rundown through the show. For we are going to hit that tight hour. It's going to happen. We're going to do it. It's going to be the first time ever that we've ever done it. But so, the first segment, James has hit on it, that it was quite a strong start to the show. Tommaso Ciampa versus Kushida. The two having to be separated backstage before the show with an angry William Regal photo being put on Twitter. The new Kushida aggression carrying on to the next lad. The Japanese star moving on from TakeOver swiftly. At least I thought so at the start of the match. A damn strong way to open the show. Ciampa following on the damage taken at TakeOver and targeting Kushida's neck. Continuity. Nice. Whilst the fresher man had his arm zoned in on for the hoverboard lock, obviously. Kushida's rage has really made him feel like an awesome deal. After a back and forth match, he looks like he's finally caught Ciampa when flies in, flying off the top with his cast, which is dyed purple, as he appears to be cosplaying as The Undertaker. And I felt like it was subtle enough that it's 90s The Taker. How did you not get that, James? The purple thing.
I got it exactly. The second you said that, I was like, oh, it does. Wow.
Attempting to land an elbow on his TakeOver foe, but Kushida sees it coming and he ends up flying into Tommaso instead. Didn't even come close. Kushida chases him off with somewhat over the top in the escape, just overly dramatically stumbling and things. I've noticed that as soon as he's turned heel. There's something strange about it, and I don't know whether to attribute to the change in how I'm watching him. As in, has he always been like this, and I'm just noticing it now because of the kind of negative kind of aura around him, or is it like on top? It's what he's doing as a heel. He thinks I'll be overly animated because that might, piss them off a bit because it's kind of over the top.
Oh, I was saying this. I was saying this on One Nation Radio on. We did a show Monday, I think. Yeah, and I was reviewing the show, the TakeOver card. It's like he is turned up. Like he was already a cartoonish flopper, right? And there is a Shawn Michaels, Dolph Ziggler, Mr. Perfect. Like there is room for cartoonish floppers. Ric Flair, of course, the Flair flop. There's room for that. I'm thinking right now of Rick Rude selling an atomic drop right now. His knees just like wobbling. But anyway, like yes, there's room for that in wrestling. I think sometimes back when I actually cared about seeing Velveteen Dream on TV, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was great. It added to his matches and whatever. And then much the same way as I mentioned those other cartoonish floppers. I think since this week, the stuff that he's doing is just like I feel like he's turned it up to a level beyond to where now it's stealing focus from the actual match as opposed to it added to the match. I feel like now it's going a beat or too long with it. Like he slop around like a fish out of water. Like he looks like one of the salmon going upstream, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like either way, like I don't want him on TV. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I just. Look at this. What is this, right? Like, what are we doing?
And they're never gonna like properly put anything behind him just because they know what the aura around him, know how it's going to be reacted to, and it's just the PR all around it has been a complete disaster. And I think I was saying last week, like, surely none of what they've done would have been PR recommended. Like, has there been any talk or whatever? Because normally, like, especially in WWE, where they've paid big money, assumably, to get those PR people, none of them would have recommended what they've done, like, at all. So it's it's confusing that they've done it this way, and then they just tried to feature him anyway. No wonder there's been a backlash.
And another thing I don't like about it is with guys like Austin Theory and Velveteen not being let go, but still around and on TV, like, what they're doing, what it seems to me right now is, like, we'll put you on TV and we'll just beat the hell out of you, right? Like, you think about the curtain call in '96 and how Triple H was set up to be King of the Ring '96, ended up going to Austin. And, whether it was Cornette or I think Russo maybe, or whoever else, all the people around that time, Ross talked about how he's basically in the doghouse for a year, right? Because they're not, the outsiders, they both leave. They're not going to punish Sean because Sean is, a top 2 star in the top 2 or 3 star in the company. So all the shit falls on Triple H. Well, you look at what they're doing with Velveteen Dream ever since this stuff came out, even before the Speaking Out movement came out. They've been beating him left and right in embarrassing fashion, and then they bring out Austin Theory, and he loses to basically everybody except for Leon Ruff. Like, I get, like, if that's your form of punishment, then, like, hey, bro, like, this isn't about punishment. This is about right or wrong. Either employ them or fire them. I would suggest you fire them, but that's what they've decided to do with it. And, like, it's certain this in the middle thing, this halfway thing they're doing, it doesn't appease either one. It doesn't make anybody happy to either, they either don't care and don't want to see those guys, or people that just like, why are you putting these people on TV? What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I swear, like, every time they feature him on the show, we have these conversations, and it's just like every time we return to it. I think we've not done one of these shows since mid-September, and it's the exact same tone. Nothing has changed. So, yeah. Also, I didn't remember that. Thank you, Skype. I don't have that good of memory to know when we last did a Velveteen Dream kind of roundup. But yes, 8th of October, nothing has changed. In fact, it's possibly a little bit worse because it's not been addressed and they featured him, and then at TakeOver there was that feeling of, oh, might they be taking it a bit more seriously? No. Immediately back on. So, yeah. At least they didn't have him win, but that's not... They're still featuring the actor, so I don't really think that matters. Because I saw that that was the thing at TakeOver. Well, if Dream wins or if Kushida doesn't win, and I'm like, but they're featuring the actor, so that's like if they went ahead with that Kevin Spacey film regardless. They didn't get in Christopher Plummer to record all these scenes. They just did it. It's a PR disaster. It's not going to get any better. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to a segment which James reacted to extremely happily earlier. Drake Maverick! Earlier today, head down in God. So, first off, he's interviewed outside, relatively chipper, talking about all the big things in the pipeline for his tag team with Killian Dane. He's so excited, the wee man. Then the big Northern Irishman just turns up and was like, what? You did what? Just becoming increasingly frustrated with this small Birmingham man never giving up on them becoming best friends. It's just, I can see where this is going. And that leads to the entrance with the happy whistling music. So, yeah, what do you make of all of this, James?
Okay, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to do a, reluctant partners thing, whether it was Rocket Sock Connection, whether it was Team Hell No. They've done this, in wrestling for dozens of years, right? And it works. The thing for me is that, like, can we do this without, like, completely embarrassing Drake Maverick, like, left and right and front and center and back and forth and round? Like, okay, so I get it. Like, he's small, therefore, and I guess he's so upbeat that you consider sorry, that you can consider him annoying. But, like, when you have the thing that been stuck out to me, I'm thinking of like the long play of this, how this has gone for the past couple months now, and now that you get to this show last night, and he said the interviewer asked him as he's walking into the building, and he says, "I've been messaging him, a bunch of ideas all week." And then all of a sudden walks up Dane, and he says, "Hey, Dane, can I get your number?" He's like, "No, you can't have my number." And I'm like, well, who you been sending these messages to? What's going on here? What? And then the music, I get the music is, the monster is embarrassed to be, coming down to this, Blues Clues sounding music or whatever else. I get it. And eventually he's going to turn around, but just like, I'm so sick and tired of every time, like, they're getting close. And then, like, at the end, you already know what's going to happen. He's gonna sock him in his jaw, knock him out, and either walk away or carry him off. And I'm just like, where is your sense of pride, Drake Maverick? I understand the whole, this dude that, quote unquote, that in theory maybe probably has no pride because long form character wise, this person got fired by a company and then decided to work in the tournament to get his job back and did. So he's probably low on pride, but still just like, God damn, like, you're being abused, bro. It's a terrible relationship. Abort. Seek counseling.
It's starting to feel like, to me, a bit like an SNL skit where they've got that end beat, and it always, there's two kinds of SNL skit. There's the one where it's the repeat gag right at the end, and I've posted the camera after you do the gag, and that's that. Or you go, oh, is that it? As the camera pans away, it's like, oh, it's only there, is it? Okay. So, but with this one, they've got the repeat joke. They're gonna hit him in the jaw every single time, and either they don't SNL skit it and they actually evolve it to a point where they become best friends, where it's wrestling, that's exactly what we expect, or you stick it on the same note and the joke is every single time. Like, R-Truth is always going to walk out of Raw with the 24/7 championship. He always loses it on Raw, but he always walks out with it. And with this, you're just waiting for Drake Maverick to get punched in the face. And that feels like Vince McMahon comedy. That's something that he would love. Where no matter what happens during it, right at the end, that little man's getting punched in the face by the big hairy one. So that is...
Right.
And I feel like that's the type of thing where it could, like, on a big variety show, you put this on Raw, in the middle, and the younger audience might eat something like this up. Maybe. Mm-hmm. It can't really go anywhere. So if you look for... So on a show like NXT, which is normally pretty good at building stuff, that's why I feel like this is like a Raw type thing, where it's just a fun little thing which you can repeat over and over. That's perfect for Raw.
Right.
NXT doesn't really play like that, and even for Breeze, or I keep forgetting what they're actually called, they...
Fandango.
I'm
sorry, Breezango. Sorry, Breezango. I said Fandango. Like, no, that's actually like Fandango's name.
You said it with such confidence.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I sure did. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
shoot or shoot happens. Shoot or shoot.
But yeah, it's a fine comedy thing, and as everyone knows, I'm a comedy guy. I love comedy. One of my favourite things about G1 Climax is Toru Yano. He had his best match today against Zack Sabre Jr. So I love me some Toru Yano. He's not making my top 5 this week. There are so many good matches. I've watched it and went, that's its best match, but I'm not bumping ZSJ versus Sanada for it. Just no. Not happening. Watch G1 Climax. So many solid matches. This week, it's such a packed top 5.
I left off at episode, or the 5th night. I still have to play catch up.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
So much. Because we're talking, I think it was just before it was about to start, and you also had a Stardom coming up as well. And because they hadn't started yet. I think they were starting that weekend. And you were like, I've got so much Stardom to watch. You're just racing for it.
Just a shout out while people are listening or whatever else. As far as Stardom, they just had their probably second biggest show of all time. And the 5 best matches on that show was probably better than TakeOver. Like, that's how good that show was. But yes, I would say check it out. Like if you got $7 and you like women's wrestling, or if you like NXT women's wrestling or whatever else, there's better women's wrestling out there actually. But yeah, like they had that show over the weekend with the G1 stuff, with TakeOver from the weekend. Like, I'm watching this. I'm just like just in heaven watching all these great matches, and then I get to the Wednesday shows. I'm just like, gonna need a little more. Gonna need a little more as far as the in-ring action, if that's what you're going to give us. But yeah, like, these weren't bad shows either one. It's just like, it's levels, obviously. And, after getting that for a weekend and going to Wednesday, it's a little different. But so the comedy stuff is just kind of like,
it's done enough time.
This is like the third or fourth time we've seen the punch to the face. Like, like either progress the story or maybe this is just a story. And like, I hope it's not, because like, I really did like the Drake Maverick cruiserweight tournament stuff. I really did like the whole run through. I think he's a really good seller and storyteller in the ring. And like, if you're gonna pair them together, like, great, because I think that it's a simple story. Small guy goes out there and gets his ass whooped. Big dude runs a hot tag, and you go from there.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it feels like a Raw thing, because it's that comedy, especially when you are coming over from Stardom, where like look at what's in the middle of their card. And what's the name of the title? I can't remember the name of the title.
High-speed title?
That's it. I'm going to describe it as wrestling, but really, really quick. I just love that idea as a concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, you come from that where you're just like, my God, how are they keeping up? And then you look at what's in the middle of this card, and I feel like it's a Western thing. In the middle of this card, instead of injecting just a showcase of how fantastic they can be, not necessarily with a lot of story going in, but you get look how fantastic, how talented our roster is. Instead of that, you get comedy. This is like, you get the variety coming in. That's when R-Truth comes out and he does his stick.
Yeah,
you get people dressing up in disguises.
And there's no knocking, right? And there's no knocking against like the comedy acts in wrestling. Like, you need that, right? You need changes of pace. Like, the more flavors you have, the better. It's just like sensing it for me is like sensing what's needed at the time. Like, if you, and also the thing with the way they format their shows with WWE, like, you can tell like what you can just watch. You can press play on a WWE show. You can tell what's the second half of an hour on TV for them, right? Like, so for me, it's kind of like, you're okay. I know where I'm in on the card. Like, when Elias comes out, or when he used to come out, it's like, oh, we're about an hour. I already know.
I reckon.
Great promo, but I already know we're at the bottom of an hour.
I reckon Maverick and Dane would be so over in the UK scene. We love childishness like that, and obviously it's not going to be easy. Like, I've seen people say with NXT UK that they're just, with everything that happened, they just can't do it. Even though like all the talent that we featured in NXT UK, it's been essentially cleansed of any name associated with it. Just like with no, compared to NXT itself, like with seemingly no remorse for NXT UK, and it's lower down the totem pole. So they're not going to Velveteen Dream you, not a chance. But again, there's still that aura. A lot of people can't even tune into it, and obviously that's not my excuse. I don't have time. When am I watching that? It's just not going to fit. When am I watching that? Realistically, during this time, so like Japan's going tournament crazy right now because finally they can do the shows, and it's even like Champions Carnival, I've not even batted an eyelid at it. When normally I at least check out the final or something, and this year, nothing. Like, sorry, all Japan.
I thought about doing that this year too, and I was like, nah, no, too much. Yeah. Like, I just finished the Grand Prix, which is Stardom's G1. G1's in the middle of it right now. I got the Wednesday shows. Like, if I had to check, the NBA Finals is going on right now. The NBA Playoffs is happening also. So it's like, I just don't got time for that. Like, maybe, and then like I'm New Japan Strong. Like, I told myself I gotta watch New Japan Strong if I fall behind too far. I know these are short shows, but like, I'm gonna fall behind too far. And like, now we're probably in like week 12 or something of it. So like, there's so much quality wrestling that was like, you're gonna have to pick and choose. Like, you're not gonna be able to catch all of the good wrestling. There's too much of the good wrestling. There's so much good wrestling that like now we've kind of at a point where we only have time for great wrestling. So that's kind of where we are now.
Yeah, it's We only got time for great wrestling. Is a great. You realise what you're chopping out just immediately where you got such a high bar. Yeah. But anyway, just quickly get through what was left on the show. So we had Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano walking their dog. I like their suburban promos. It's completely different from what anyone else is doing, and they're always talking about one thing, but they always link it to what's happening on the show. Ranting about how TakeOver sucked. Yeah, it did. It sucked, didn't it? Ugh. And they deserve rematches, and things need to change. They just need a plan. When they get to their house and find a big Ultra HD TV waiting for them outside their house, and good for them, but they can do that in their neighbourhood. It's just a bit expensive HD TV, just leave it there. And they're just, can't do that here. No, you can't. It's HD TV. It's expensive. Apparently from Indy Hartwell outside their front door, and the Ray's like, wait, hold on a minute, this is a bit weird. Why is she sending us an HD TV? But Johnny's just like, it's a free TV. Who cares? It's a free TV.
Right.
Yeah, I love that dynamic.
I think the best part was like, at first he was like, Indy's name was mentioned. I guess it was on the gift card or whatever else for the TV, and he goes, Indy Hartwell, who she's ever beat, right? And then after he said like the TV is yours, he's like, I've always liked her. She's going places like, oh, you're such a shit. It was good. Do you want to go to part 2 of that?
Yes.
With the thumb drive.
So we after the whole issue with Rich Holland, we had a run of VTRs and promos, and we cut to Johnny Gargano, who was watching his new big TV, just like, yes, interesting. And at first you're like, oh, are they going to link it to him watching NXT live? And then he comes around and is like, no, he's actually watching, he's realised something, that genuinely, and I'll call it awesome little subtlety, because I had no idea it happened in the match, but they showed it where Johnny, it said it was in the player, it's just, this is what it was, and Johnny is in the player, but that's a decade-old reference to DVDs, but Johnny, physical things, no one used physical things anymore. Johnny showing how many times Indy saved Candice in the Battle Royal, and obviously she went on to win. So it's like, oh, not only did she save her, but she was instrumental in Candice winning, and that's what turns Candice to like, oh, yeah, I quite like her too. Obviously with the cute doggo as well, just panting away, just like, oh yeah, this segment's winning me over. You're hitting on subtlety,
right.
Got a little dog and everything. Did you have a comment? I'm trying to find a better way.
For me, For me, just like, I really enjoyed how pretty much every match, or the players in every match, like, they touched up on them and they sent them, wherever they're going to go. I'm like, obviously, the Ridge Holland and whoever was paying for his services to take out Adam Cole was with Finn Balor in the main event match. With the Garganos, now they're going to see what's up with this Indy Hartwell thing. With EO, it was more or less like they're setting the table by showing you the with the tag match. I think the only thing they really didn't touch on was Swerve and Santos, but I'm sure that's around the corner on whatever you end up with next. And they also touched on Priest, and Priest said he's looking for the next challenger. So I thought in a way that we haven't really gotten with these shows, where like promos, character work, plot developments. I really like the show. Like, they were short on the wrestling, but I really like the opener and the main event. So it's like this is a saying that I often say with actually I don't even want to say it because I think the wrestling matches in between the opener and main events were weak, but I thought everything else worked very well.
Yeah, it was especially with the women's division, where it reminded me a bit of when the blocks got announced for the G1 this year, and people looked at A block, saw certain people in the same one, and people starting to react like Big E watching Braun Strowman versus Goldberg. Like, oh, look at that meat! Look at that! And it's like, I get that same feeling with the women's division. It's like, oh, yes. Oh, yes, I want to see that matchup. Oh, and that one. Oh, just, yeah. I can't quote any more of what Big E said when referring to the women's division, but still, it was a I just realised, I was like, it's the comparison has to stop there. The point's been made. It's fine.
Yeah. Probably for the best. Probably for the best.
Yeah. When I was talking about Shingo versus Ishii, I just quoted Big E in my thing. Just it's like, oh, slapping that meat. Does it? You want 5-star matches? Nah, not me. Big sweaty, greasy man slapping that meat. That's my favourite quote from. I love that. It's so good. So fun. New Day podcast is hilarious. Anyway, so to kind of take it down a tad, we had a laugh. Let's talk about Austin Theory. So we've already touched on it. I guess with Titan's Velveteen Dream and all around it, and then beating Leon Ruff. So the bit after he beats Leon Ruff, after the match, he's got your promo about how great he is and how he's the future of NXT, and he's laying an open challenge. Like, he's done this before, where he'll be in the ring, win or lose. He'll then go, "I'm amazing, though. Someone come out and open challenge me. It's an amazing opportunity to be in the ring with someone like me." And this time it's Dexter Lumis who's returning, and it's time for a creepy bastard to get battered by Dexter Lumis. Turn it around. So Austin Theory versus Dexter Lumis. The cocky prick gets stomped down a tad before controlling a lot of this match. What a crazy concept. A man who runs his mouth but then backs up his words when I'm just expecting him to get his ass kicked. So like, oh wait, no. But Lumis's style is to suddenly snap into action, but not the way that James was praising earlier. This is the other side of that, where it's kind of a bit boring. Yeah. It goes a bit too far.
A bit.
Yes. And I had this on in the background whilst the G1 Climax was on, because how else I'm going to fit everything in? And I was zoning out of this. Like, I was often pausing one to check in on the other. And like, if NXT was too good, I'd pause it, because I wasn't pausing New Japan. This one, I just let it play. Nothing was happening. Austin Theory was beating down Dexter Lumis, and then Dexter Lumis suddenly snaps back into action with the other lad. Like, the other bloke thinks that they've got him, when suddenly they find themselves on the end of a Uranagi into a clutch, and that's the end of that. And it seems like we're getting Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis as well, as he flew in with the double stomp, and that led us into that. Not super feeling it. I think it's just Dexter Lumis.
No.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's Lumis, and more importantly, it's the gimmick that is enhancing the whatever matches you could possibly have. Like, there is something to be said about having a gimmick or a character that doesn't sell, but like, you have to do it in the right way. Like, Tomohiro Ishii does not no sell in the same way that Dexter Lumis does. Like, Dexter Lumis does is in a way that's like, okay, go pull. We were talking about the Undertaker earlier, right? Pull up 94, 93 Undertaker. Pull up Kane in 98. Like, I think we're kind of past that. And the thing that also is annoying is, maybe if we had more of a into his character instead of him just being a mysterious guy with killer's eyes. There'd be something where we can understand why he is kind of the way he is, but then again, maybe that's blowing the mystique. Like, it might just be, a mystery box thing. But like, he clearly can do some stuff, but like, this gimmick is like stifling that. And he was gone for so long, and like, they're trying to push him, but it's like, this I don't know who likes. I talked to a bunch of different wrestling fans. I don't know anyone that likes this. It is really weird. But yeah, I think ultimately what we can come down to is my conclusion is, like, if Leon Ruff in like 2 minutes or whatever that was can impress in that way before ultimately getting beat and destroyed by Theory is more impressive than Lumis going 12 minutes with Theory, then it's like, maybe you're doing this entirely wrong.
Actually, yeah, it's the style, because I was complimenting somebody else's style, Zelina Vega's style. I was complimenting her style, but she makes the person look like $1 million. She'll contort all over the place, take all the bumps in the world, sometimes at silly angles, but the opponent looks awesome in her matches. Here, they just ground Dexter Lumis, and it's just a bit boring. It's one of those where, on paper, I don't mind the gimmick, but in practice, in execution, I'm just bored when I'm watching it. And that's, in terms of entertainment, that's like the best way to kind of just take, how do I feel on it? Well, I was bored. And that means it's not working. So, yeah. Anyway,
Right, and I think for me with Loomis is like I think the only match I really liked with him was the first Roddy match, not the strap match, but the actual first Roddy match where Roddy, we know Roddy, he's a badass high school bully, right? So when he tries to out wrestle him and he can't out wrestle him, so he takes a pound out of the ring and blows his stack, and then he goes in the ring and is like, forget this, I'm out. I'm going to redouble my efforts and try to out wrestle him. I still can't wrestle him. Roll out the ring in frustration again, and he starts striking him, and then they go from there. Like that's kind of like it really comes down to how talented the other guy is, and like obviously that's all a part of wrestling, where styles make fight, and people with more experience can get more things out of people that are less experienced but like. Austin Theory is somebody that needs to be in the ring with, like he has been. Like they have put him in the ring with, over the last year, like Ciampa, Cole, Roddy, and then Loomis, the same thing. Like those guys need to be in the ring with guys that can help that act or that character or whatever else, and have these matches. Like when Brie Life sees these matches, so with some ideas from just flat out experience. Like Thatcher plus Loomis. That was a problem.
Yes, totally. Yeah, actually, that's a turning point for me, really. We've got one more segment to get through before we nail that 1 hour. But well done us. The Shotzi Blackheart versus Xia Li in a let's kill some time kind of thing. And set up an angle. So not a particularly long match. Spooky Shotzi launched with a dropkick off the bat, bringing the strikes against Xia Li. May not have been the wisest of invitations, as she got a good kicking. Pretty even until the fight goes to the turnbuckle. Lee tries to take advantage but gets knocked down, and down flies Blackheart with the senton for the win. Shotzi gets her win. She gets to celebrate how Halloween Havoc's coming around, which means she's consistently advertising Halloween Havoc, so it's a win-win for everybody. Afterwards is the angle. So Bo walks out in a suit because they're both Chinese, so I guess that's it. That's good enough. He hands Xia a letter, and she opens and reads it before reacting, and then they just walk up the ramp together. And my immediate reaction is, did Bo just serve her? Why is she going off like that?
Like papers? Yeah. Like they serve like for court?
Yeah. you just got served. Yeah, it's an angle.
I can't remember the last time. I don't know what this has to do with Xia, with her, with Candice. I'm sorry, Candice, but with Casey and Kaden, where like they beat her, and then both times she just, she's a poor loser. I don't know what that plays into with this. I guess we'll find out. I'm just hoping that because they do this a lot with people from international. Or from foreigners, like they do this a lot. Like we have Legado del Fantasma. There's obviously there's cartel influence in their gimmick, right? Like I hope this isn't some like foray into triads. I just hope it's not.
I didn't even make that link. I was even more calmly just China, and thinking, don't Rusev it or something. That was like my favourite thing. Just not my favourite thing, but as a European, just like he's from Russia. I was like, I swear he's from Bulgaria. Like he called him the Bulgarian route. Like, no, but he's from Russia. It's close enough, right? I mean, if you ignore history, just everything that's happened. Yeah, sure,
right,
sure, it's fine. Anyway, we've managed to do it. For us, this is incredible to actually be wrapping up 1 hour into the show. This never happens. We need. More often, we need something happening where we're like, we can't go past this thing because something's happening. We need something like that. So, but we stayed on track. So, thank you to James Boyd for coming in on this busy day to talk some NXT before getting drunk on a Thursday, or responsibly drunk on a Thursday, or not drunk at all because you're the best man. So.
I didn't say what I was planning on doing tonight, but thank you, Imp.
Imp blows the cover. Yes, James going to be crying by himself with a bottle. That's what I was hinting at, yes. Anyway, I will be back on Tuesday. I get a break. I'll be back on Tuesday with the Monday Night Raw review. Before then, I will be posting my G1 Climax weekly roundup with Sir Sam. That should be up either tomorrow or Saturday. We've only got tomorrow off, fellow G1 viewers. We've got tomorrow off, so Sir Sam and I got to get everything done for the column tomorrow and get that up for Saturday. We're right back into it. On the long stretch to the final, there's a lot of wrestling to watch. So I'll be back on Monday in audio form for the Raw review. You can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. You can follow James Boyd on Twitter at JamesBoyd87. Yes, I can never remember the year. 87. And the screen doesn't help me because it's currently tiny, so I can't read any numbers on it. But James, you want to plug all of your stuff before we say go away?
Yeah, I do a weekly podcast called One Nation Radio with my homeboy Rich, who's bachelor party I'm about to go to. We air on Sundays or Mondays depending on the weekend of the pay-per-view schedule. But yeah, you can find us on Twitter at One Nation Radio. We're part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. You can follow that at Social Suplex. Different shows, much similar to LOP Radio's lineup.
And with that, I bid you adieu. Once again, it's his bachelor party. He's getting married, so shout out to Rich Latter. Buy his album, buy his stuff he's done with Swerve. Just, twice. I said I'd do it once, but nah, let's do it twice. Let's be kind. I said it's a special.
Appreciate it.
We've Ember Mooned it. We've bookended you. Start and finish. And also, check out One Nation Radio when that releases as well to hear them talk about all of the wrestling. I was going to put it on a single topic and then realised, no, they cover so many things that doesn't make sense to do that. So I will be back on Tuesday. With that, I bid you adieu. Good luck, everybody, with continuing to watch this crazy amount of wrestling. So with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.